60% of searches online today end without a click. Consumers are using the web in a different way. And so if consumers are using the web in a different way, we've got to get to consumers where they are today. I don't think the website is any longer the place for monetization. So for brands, I believe the solution is.
Welcome to Homegrown CEO, the podcast for entrepreneurs, leaders, and business builders seeking actionable insights to grow their ventures and themselves. I'm your host, Matt Colborn, and today's episode is one that I hope will be especially useful to you. Joining me today is Alessandra di Lorenzo, a digital marketing expert who's worked with some of the biggest and best-known brands in the world. Having built impressive, high-performing data platforms at the likes of eBay, Nokia, Vodafone, and lastminute.com, Alessandra now dedicates her time to teaching people about how the internet works today. In this episode, she'll take us behind the scenes into the systems that shape what we see online so that you can understand what gets your business seen, what no longer matters, and what to do about it this week. Let's welcome Alessandra to the podcast. During your life, Alessandra, you've dedicated so much of your work to educating people about the internet. One of the big questions I had was, what's the one thing you wish more people understood?
Oh, God. Yeah. So I'll give you the short answer and then I'll elaborate on it. The short answer is the internet is not a neutral place. It's not neutral.
Okay.
It's one big persuasive system. In other words, it's one big fat ad.
Okay.
So why do I think I have a claim to fame? Why do I talk about this stuff? And why am I, saying that this is my lane and I can actually talk about this very big topic with some sort of level of comfort that I'm confident to talk about it? It's because I spent 20 years building advertising systems. So I built myself and the teams that I worked with built the backbone of some of the advertising tools and systems that today still power the web. So examples are, back at Yahoo, I still remember conversations in the early 2000s with Criteo, one of the first retargeting companies out of France, calling me up and saying, hey, we've got this thing called retargeting. Would you like to try it? That was unheard of because banners at the time were rotating pictures, right? And then all the way through to, at eBay when we built very persuasive predictive models, very sophisticated predictive models, and then at lastminute.com where we built essentially, very sophisticated, again, predictive models that were able to tell a customer's intent based on their behavior. And so to go back to your question, I've built so much of that and I've got so much experience in that. What I'm looking at now is that actually what used to live inside advertising has bled into everything we see online. So social media behaves like an ad. The auctions that happen with content, the feed, all the stuff that we see there, news feeds behave like advertising. When we swipe left on our Google phones or our Apple phones, the news feed there is not neutral. It's a bunch of websites put together to keep us attached to the device so that we consume more. So, And
even the type of news we're consuming is quite tailored to each of us now individually as well.
Completely. I mean, there's a lot of people now talking about echo chambers and algorithmic bubbles and all of that. And I think to me, so the web is not neutral. And then the next step is everything we do online is tailored to us and our specific likes based on our behaviors and based on our a probability score, a chance that the system takes on us, which is very precise, even more with AI, that says, well, you know what, this person is very likely to be interested in this other content. Therefore, I'm going to show him or her this. And because I want to keep them attached to the screen longer. So, I mean, we know that in Europe, 6 hours a day is the Nielsen has found that is the average time we spend on these devices. We know that majority of people, this is research backed, don't really know how ranking and algorithms organize information. They don't understand it. So we're in a situation where millions of people across the world are using devices and systems without really knowing how they work. It's very
But
dangerous, actually.
is that the worst thing for me, just to get a lot of videos about fishing, home renovations and sausage dogs? Because that's what I'm into.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the more you watch sausage dogs, one of the biggest triggers for the platforms, we know this, for the algorithms, one of the biggest signals is watching a video to the very end, right? So if you've watched a sausage dog to the very end, what happens straight after is a big auction. And the platform, basically what it does is it tries to fill every single ad or content slot right after with something that's relevant. So you're going to end up with a bubble. That specific session is going to be a sausage dog session. Sparse with, maybe, I don't know, fishing videos, because they know that you also like that. So they're testing again in real time. I think it's okay if you're aware of it. It's not okay if you're a young adult. I know Australia is doing a lot, very much at the forefront of protecting young adults. If you're a young adult and you start getting trapped in algorithmic bubbles that are potentially very harmful, have you watched The Manosphere on Netflix?
No, I haven't watched it.
Well, it's a good example of algorithmic bubbles, right? When these recommendation systems become toxic. So to answer your question more precisely, the internet has so much information today that without these systems, we wouldn't be able to use it. So we need these ranking systems. We need these tools to organize the information for us. The challenge is when we don't understand how these tools work, and then we just lap the information up and we've got no filter.
If you had to break down the internet into some of its core moving parts, the systems that are actually deciding what we see, tell us a little bit about what they are and how they're all working together.
Yes, that's cool. So I explain it using an acronym which started as the 3 A's, but now it's become the A4 actually. And I'll tell you what it is. Okay. So there are 4 components to the internet, or to the way these persuasive systems work. And we often get them confused. And right now, because everybody's talking about AI, we think that the internet is all AI, but it's not. AI is sitting on top of very sophisticated tools systems that work, that existed far before that. So the first thing that goes on online behind our screens is that there are algorithms. That's the first A. Algorithms help rank information. They're very binary. They're programmed and they say, okay, if person does this, then I'll do this. They existed a long time ago online, right? The second thing that goes on behind our screens are auctions. We spoke about auctions. Auctions happen inside the advertising ecosystem, where our attention is sold to the best bidder based on who we are and what we've done. But they also happen in the content that we see. So when you watch sausage dog videos, every slot right after will be filled with more of the same content. That's an auction. The system is deciding what content to show you with the intent to keep you hooked. Auctions. Analysis, continuous analysis. That's the third A. These tools analyze everything we do, every click, every like, every share, how fast we type, how emotional we are with certain content, what emojis we use, what language we use, etc. And then it packages it up and compares it to millions of other people similar to us. That's why in your feed, you might get sausage dogs fishing and then perhaps some, I don't know, barbecue equipment once in a while.
Oh, yes, there's some grilling equipment being thrown in there every now and then.
And then, of course, the fourth A is artificial intelligence, which does 2 things. It accelerates all of the 3 A's that we mentioned, and it answers for us, gives us answers.
So what does that mean for a business that's still relying on people searching for them?
So I talk about today, these 4 A's power what I call the big silent gatekeeper. So online, basically, brands no longer have the ability, and I'm dramatizing here a bit, but very few brands have the ability today to connect directly with consumers. In order to get content seen, you've got to play the rules of the gatekeeper. You've got to understand those 4 A's and you've got to play within them. And you might not like that. But, and I mean, how many times have we written a really cool piece of an article or something really cool and then we get 2 clicks?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Exactly, right? It's horrible because this is the thing, right? So these gatekeepers, they have their own logic, and that logic is commercial. And they don't prioritize good content or bad content. They prioritize content that keeps us hooked or that monetizes for them. So for brands, I believe the solution is to go back to the very basics of what brands and products are made for, which is to sell to consumers. So how do we get to consumers in the real world? Bypass the gatekeeper. So if you're a local brand, focus on your local consumers, go to events, go back into the real world, doing a lot of that, a lot of offline marketing at the moment. Imagine, I mean, it's crazy. The other thing is focus on your brand again. Brand and brand building, real values, trust, creating something, a product that is good and that people will appreciate and connect with your brand is, again, even more important because we're coming out of the era of performance marketing where we would rely on sales based on all of these very performative systems and these gatekeepers. That is becoming more inefficient because hijacking the system is becoming difficult. Understanding how these gatekeepers work is becoming super difficult, and performance marketing is becoming more expensive. And I'll leave it at that. So if you've got a strong brand and you can get direct traffic to your site, well, that is a very P&L-able asset. So again, I think we're looking at the resurgence of brand and brand marketing here.
Now, both my daughters have their own devices and I have a love-hate relationship with that. But the way they use their devices involves no typing at all. They just constantly talk and dictate into their devices. Is that really a thing now, voice search, and how they're just talking to their devices to find the information that they're after?
Do you know what? It's not even only talking to it. It's the fact that these assistants, then they answer. So this is what freaks me out because I have a 5-year-old. And I started my whole TEDx, which is hopefully going to go out soon, starts exactly like this. Basically, it starts with a very, very specific moment when I walked into the kitchen and my 5-year-old was talking to Google on the screen and she was asking a question about showing her craft videos. Can you show me the best of the bestest craft videos? And obviously the screen then replied with a list of curated videos to show her. And then she turned around to me and she said, well, Mummy, but this guy in the screen, Google in particular, is very super helpful. Can we have him over for dinner? She's 5.
Yeah.
And so you can see what the dynamic there is. It's a dynamic where the younger generations are not only asking questions, they're getting answers. And those answers are coming back to them as if they were human answers. But the systems behind them are persuasive systems. They are systems that are not neutral, as we said before. They are systems that are geared towards commercial outputs. And, you know, when we're looking at a screen, we still have a chance maybe to go and look at sources and search a bit more. But when we're in a voice-only environment, you just take the first answer, don't you? Because it's convenient. Amazon, Alexa, Google search, you know, the Google assistants. So that to me is very scary because the internet is suddenly taking away our ability to apply cognitive power, choice. You know, what we used to do when the internet started, we would search and go to a website and read it and make up our own mind. I believe that is under an immense amount of pressure, and especially in the younger generations, we really need to teach them how to use these tools well.
So tell me more about the system sitting between every business and its customers deciding who's going to get seen and who doesn't. Is there really a chance for a small business at the moment that's trying to compete to win?
I believe so. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's cases of small businesses doing really well online. And my position on this is not to demonize these tools. I'm very neutral with regards to them. My position is that we need to understand them. And the majority of us don't. Consumers and businesses alike. And I think if you're obviously one of the big brands, you've got teams that are now exploring, you know, the new version of search engine optimization, which we may talk about later on, or how search engine marketing works today, or how to ingest your data into the large language models and all of that stuff. If you're a smaller business, well, your business is to make, I don't know, if you make shoes, your job is to make shoes. It's not to be the expert of the gatekeeper and the algorithms and all of those. So what do you do then? Well, first of all, focus on doing a good job and connecting with your customers and consumers, customers in particular, outside of the web. Again, start with your local community, get your local fans, interact with humans, go to the shows, go to the, start offline. And then the second is you've got to get some form of literacy in terms of how those 4As work and how they interact. Please be careful when it comes to agencies. Be careful when it comes to AI tools, because there's a plethora of people out there saying they know lots and tools that do pretty much the same thing, but lots of it is difficult to navigate, and I'm not sure about what's going on there. So focus on what you do well, product and consumer.
So to help with that navigation though, like what's the first thing someone should go out and learn or try and do this week to make a start?
So I reckon that the whole conversation that is everywhere on LinkedIn today about generative engine optimization or AI engine optimization, which is, how do I get seen inside ChatGPT, right? So obviously it works differently to what we used to do, or at least that's what is being debated a lot. There are some differences, but actually search engine optimization, 60-70% of how these tools, these large language models rank our sites is still the good old search engine optimization practice. So let's write a really good blog. Let's make sure that we're putting out information that is interesting. Let's make sure that our website is properly standardized with headings and subheadings and structured data that the tools can actually crawl well. Then there are certain things that are new that we could do. For example, these large language models love real human language, like interaction, raw. They're able to read and understand raw language, real semantics. So I do things with some of my clients like opening up the forum, for example, the good old forum, or community space as we call it today. Right? Open it up. Let the tools actually crawl your site and those human interactions, because that will give you an advantage.
So I think there's a lot of guesswork, right, about what the algorithm really likes, right? But in your experience, what are some of the things that the system, the ranking system is really starting to respond to?
Yeah, so I believe that, it's not my belief, it's based on experience. So the ranking systems, whichever you're on, whether it's a social media platform, a large language model, they work differently, right? But the point is they are trying to optimize for engagement, because keeping you engaged, keeping consumers engaged is what they monetize. Therefore, when we're building content for that, we've got to keep that in mind. If we put out content that is engaging, there's a higher chance that the ranking system will show more of it. So early signals, for example. I have a WhatsApp group with friends where every time I post something on LinkedIn or on my socials, I post it on that group as well. And I ask them to like and comment on it early, because the first 24 to 48 hours, the content lives on the tool. If the ranking system gets early signals that it's engaging, there's a higher chance that it will show it to more people. And so the trusted WhatsApp group actually is a very good way to feed these ranking systems. We also know that they're not neutral, right? So there's a very big gender bias. They like emotions, images, faces, whatever makes people engage with that content more. So you'll always find that a post with your face or a video with you talking will engage more than, and if it's a female, it'll work better than, a nice conceptual set of words.
That's quite interesting. So tell me a little bit more about engineering that early engagement. What are some other things that can look like in practice?
So I would say that very important, more than likes in those first sort of minutes or hours, it's the comments that are important. And of course, these ranking systems, these tools, these systems are able to they don't necessarily only match by keyword. They also have very strong semantic capabilities. So they can understand context and they can understand richness of responses. So I think one of the things that we should keep in mind is in that WhatsApp group of trusted friends, get people to actually write comments that make sense, that enrich the conversation, because obviously these ranking systems are going to take that as a big signal of interest and hopefully, show it to more people.
Pretty daunting thing, right? Trying to build that audience up and that presence online. And, it really takes a lot of time and resources to really succeed. Any alternatives or other ways thinking about this that come to mind for you?
So as I said, I've been doing a lot. I help SMBs in particular across Europe. So in the UK and in Italy, where I was born, And we're doing a lot of offline at the moment because it's so confusing and these gatekeepers are so opaque. Back in 5 years ago, 3 years ago, you could optimize for the gatekeepers. Search engine marketing, search engine optimization, advertising, paid would perform. And so it was almost like a transparent pact between the platforms and the brands. That is it's a black box at the moment. So yes, we can try and work with it. We've spoken about a few things that we can do, but the more direct way to do it is go offline, focus on your product, make the best product you can, bring it to consumers in real life, then go back online. Get followers. If you make the best shoe, you're going to get people buying this shoe, right? And then they can come and talk to you.
So tell me more about brand building. It's always been quite hard to justify because trying to find that attribution and easily attribute the brand building activities to revenue is difficult. How has that changed, or how do you make a case for a business owner who wants to think about the effort and the cost of brand building in terms of their return on investment?
Yes, this is a real challenge. I mean, it's very difficult to attribute that brand expense to revenue, direct performance and revenue, right? But I reckon there's one metric which is fundamental in today's digital economy, and that is direct traffic, right? Direct traffic and being able to get people to type in www.alessandradolorenzo.com is the key metric for success in brand. Because when somebody comes to your site, you're bypassing the gatekeeper. You have a chance to either nurture them, you have a chance to create a connection with them, potentially sell them something, or keep them coming back. So how do we measure brand and brand effectiveness? Direct traffic.
So talk to me a little bit more about the website itself then. So historically, a lot of businesses have treated their website as that centerpiece of their marketing and their presence in the digital world. It's the place where everything leads to and sales happen. Given what we've discussed, is that still the right way to think about the website?
So I think I'm a little bit early in this specific opinion that I'm going to share with you. And from the conversations I'm having today, from a business perspective, the majority of us doing websites and doing marketing haven't caught up with what I'm about to say. But hear me out. I'd love your opinion on it. I believe that, and this is not a belief based on just my opinion. This is what the facts say. So the majority of discovery, brand discovery, is still happening within platforms, right? So how does a brand get discovered? Facebook, social media, news feeds, search. These platforms are also starting to take a larger and larger share of transactions. So we know that 45% of TikTok users last year in the US bought something on TikTok. So what does that mean? What's happening? Discovery and conversion are suddenly happening, polarizing more and more inside platforms. So what's left? What's left is that trust layer. I believe that websites and their function is no longer to do conversion of traffic at scale, but it's to be the anchor where consumers can come, engage with a community, talk to people, real humans, understand if the brand is worthwhile buying, and then perhaps go and buy it back in the platform. Why not? Right? Yes, there's a margin issue, but I think today with the pressure on search, with 60% of these searches not bringing traffic to the site, there's a pressure on the advertising model, there's a pressure on the monetization and free web model, and therefore websites must be constructed in a different way. We need to start looking at what they're meant to do and allocating budget accordingly.
Well, to me, the website's becoming far more of a place of validation and a community space rather than just the transactional destination. And if we were to take that view around the website and it becoming a community hub, what do you think that looks like in terms of practice, and what should businesses be putting there, and what can effectively now go from the website?
I believe that in the next few years, we're going to see less and less transactions happening on site. I think brands should focus the website on creating real human value, the human validation to your point. I don't think the website is any longer the place for monetization, with one exception, and that is if you are, selling memberships, if you're a publisher, obviously. But again, that's under disruption as well. And then advertising. I've spoken recently to a large publisher in the UK, one of the nationals, and they lost 50% of traffic year on year, which means they have to let go of journalists, which means the whole model is pressured because now We need to be focusing on quality.
So for business owners that have been pouring their budget into their website historically as their primary sales channel, like where does that leave them now? Should they be rethinking where that money goes in the future?
Very much so. Very much so. Refocus it on the brand, refocus it on the product. I believe that now, I mean, there's so much content out there. AI tools are very capable today. We're not in a place where we were 12 or 6 months ago where AI was just creating slop. There is very good content and very excellent capabilities coming out. And I don't think there's any shame in embracing them. As long as we're transparent with our consumers and our readers that we are using augmented tools. For example, I use a talking head of myself, a cloned version of myself to explain certain things, but I label it as such and I say it.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that, yes, spending 30-40% of our marketing budget on website, sometimes more, is no longer the way to go. I would strongly recommend small business owners to get their marketing person or themselves, if they like using these tools, onto Base 44 or similar tools and challenge the tool to build a website for them. I bet you they can rebuild the site they've got on Shopify in an hour.
That's some great advice for the small business owner. What other piece of advice would you give them on shifting their attention and budget right now? Like, what's that one bit of concrete advice? What should it be?
I think in a world where we're surrounded by too much information, everybody's trying to grab our attention, everybody's trying to sell us something, I think we've got to hunker down on quality. I think quality, now more than ever, will be the winning thing that will bring a brand to positive return or not, because of all the stuff that we've said. Why do humans buy products? Because they're good. And let's focus on that. Let's focus on creating the best product we can. Let's focus on getting to our potential consumers outside of the gatekeeper, outside of the digital tools, if we can. If we're creating a product that is physical, let's go sell it really, and then get these people who are now galvanized by the awesome product that we've created to come to our social media and engage with our brand. Maybe let's put them on our WhatsApp channel as fans and get them to engage with our social posts and propagate and hopefully work with the algorithm,
So it sounds like there is some good news there after all about what's still working and what's important. You also mentioned going offline, events, local community, real world conversations. Are there some specific examples you've seen recently that's made a real difference for a business?
I'm going to say something that's going to probably sound controversial and not very ecological, but you can find eco ways to do it, but flyering, literally. I'm not kidding. So I help a friend run a beauty clinic parlor on the beach where we live in the south of England. And obviously the main source of traffic there is Google's listing on the maps. And so that is very much about local traffic, and it converts. Okay. So what we did is we tested literally dropping a specific discount code on the doors, something that people haven't done in maybe 15 years. And it performed really well. It outperformed the digital channel. So yeah, if you're a business that lives in the local community, go talk to your local community. Just get out. That's what people are craving. It's a real trend now. Obviously, that's not possible if you're running different kinds of businesses and you have to rely on digital tools. Then that's a bigger challenge, right? Content creators is a good example, right?
So during your time at eBay, you were right at the forefront of building some predictive systems. One of them was around helping identify what trimester a pregnant woman was in. And at that time, that engineering was very revolutionary. Where are we heading to next? What do you think the next big digital marketing revolution is going to be?
Basically, the web is one big fortune teller at the moment, and it does it with such precision that it's not telling fortune. It's literally predicting what we're going to do next. And it's done in a very sophisticated, probabilistic way. And we all have scores, multiple scores on our digital heads. Every time we access one of these sites, we're scored all the time. I think, so in digital marketing, I think, as we said, right, so everything is changing because the way consumers use the web is changing. And so this is the key message that I talk about all the time. So because the industry has sort of a way of talking about this stuff, which is very much inside itself. oh yeah, we've got to increase our CPM. Oh yeah, our attribution isn't working, or programmatic advertising, all of this jargon, right? All of these words make sense if you're in a meeting, but actually zoom out a bit. Consumers are using the web in a different way. And so if consumers are using the web in a different way, we've got to get to consumers where they are today. And so there's going to be a massive, massive influx of what we were talking about before, voice engagement. How does marketing work in a voice-only environment? What is the role of a website in a voice-only environment? Again, going back to the website, right? Another reason why we should really consider whether spending so much money on the perfect website is the right way forward. If there's a trend, and I don't have the numbers at hand now, but there's a trend with search and voice answers, right? So that's definitely something that's coming. Agentic is going to just power that. So people just doing stuff on their WhatsApp. So if you monetize through advertising on a site, where does that leave you?
Alessandra, you've given us some great advice today, and to help summarize it up about what we've spoken on, what are 3 pieces a leader should take forward from this conversation today?
Yeah, sure. So the way consumers use the web today is no longer the way we knew. So something has changed dramatically with artificial intelligence coming into play. And so we've got to understand that, and we've got to react. So if consumers use the web differently, then as brands, as marketers, we've got to use our tools and allocate our budgets and our strategy to that new way of consuming the internet. That's the key. Second, this is more of a consumer point, but it's still relevant. As we started, the web is not neutral. It's a big persuasive system. It's one big fat ad, as I say. And we've got to keep that in mind as parents, as teachers, as adults, as educators, as people. And 3, well, the world still exists outside of digital. So yes, it's a really good tool, and we shouldn't demonize it. But let's get back to the real world and try out that for a bit and see how it works. Yeah, get out there a bit more.
So find my real customers and just really love what I'm doing, huh?
Yeah. It sounds very simplistic and somewhat naive, but it's grounded in real business experience, working with SMBs out this side of the world.
Now, before you go, Alessandra, we'd love to hear about what we call your kitchen bench moment. So looking back at your career, was there a major turning point or one experience that really shaped your business or your mindset going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a little girl, and she's now 5, and we've spoken about her, and she is awesome. And I spent the majority of my adult life, my formative years and all of my career, building stuff for the thrill of building new digital tools and for the thrill of creating revenue optimizations. And, I loved it. I love I'm a bit of a geek like that. I love the stacks and the tools, and when things work, it's exhilarating. And then at 39, I had a little creature, and now she is very exposed. And I'm now very worried. And I had a bit of an aha moment. And that's why now I'm writing these books, and I'm talking to parents and trying to do what I can to uncover some of this. Not because it's bad, but because it is persuasive, and because we've got to learn, everybody. This is a life skill. Understanding how these tools work, even though we spend 6 hours a day on them, is not a tech skill. It's a life skill. And so, yeah, my daughter basically changed my life, which sounds like a cliche, but hey, it's very true for me.
And Alessandra, your book, Adjust, is out at the moment. What's your favourite thing to share out of that book for people thinking about picking it up?
I think it's got elements. If you want to go deeper into how these systems work, it attempts to explain in a little bit more detail what the technologies are doing in a way that is structured, right? Because there's a lot of information online, but it's also there's a sea of just too much. There's too much out there in terms of people teaching digital marketing. So in the book, you'll find a structured way of reading it, and the fact that it's offline is actually a nice dichotomy. If you read the paper book, so there's a whole chapter on what programmatic advertising is, what is real-time bidding, what is a CPC, why is it different to the measurement, and trying to basically explain what attribution is, explain what a cookie is and why websites ask us to approve cookies all the time, and what does that mean for businesses, etc. So I think there's a lot of information there for business owners, perhaps, for students of marketing, that is offered in a way that I think is useful. At the very least, my students and the feedback I've had has been very positive on the book. So I hope that it's useful as a guide.
There's some great resources on your website, alessandradlorenzo.com. Alessandra, thank you for joining us on the Homegrown CEO podcast.
It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. And I hope this was useful, Matt, for you, for your friends, for your followers and listeners. I'm delighted. Thank you.
The internet is a vast and complicated place to try and run a business. But although we may never fully understand every system that makes the internet tick today, Alessandra's advice is sound. Focus on quality, build your brand, and get out there. Thank you for joining us today on the Homegrown CEO podcast. I hope my conversation with Alessandra has given you some clarity around where to focus next. Do let us know if that's the case. A review of this podcast goes a long way in helping other people find us, and we'd love to hear from you through the email address below, and get in touch with us at any time. And if you're hungry for more, become a member of our exciting Homegrown CEO community. You'll be able to connect with dozens of other exceptional entrepreneurs, and will receive access to exclusive bonus content from our conversation today. Click the link in the show notes to join us at a discounted rate. Until then, make sure you subscribe to the show to be the first to know when our next episode drops. We look forward to you joining us then. In the meantime, I've been your host, Matt Colborn.